Hello, and welcome to the What Inspires You podcast. My name is Paul.
And I'm Brandon. Join us as we rediscover wonder through inspiring conversation. I should do that. Scoliosis correction for people. Just look at yourself in this mirror, and I'm going to tilt the mirror a little bit, and now you're better.
Now stand up straight. Interesting. All right.
That's funny.
Came up with a new.
Oh, man. That's a good chiropractor joke.
There you go. Yeah. Come up with a new clinical practice here on What Inspires You. Impressive.
It's called the crooked mirrors.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Never expected this podcast to be useful.
Yeah.
So here we are.
Never expected it to be useful.
It's just going to be
We
the
expected it to
ramblings.
be useless.
Yes, this is just going to be the ramblings of two crazed individuals.
Yeah. Yeah. One of them being Craven.
Jeez.
But I would never describe you that way, Paul. It's just what other people said.
That's funny. I love that joke. Nice. Well, welcome to episode 3 of season 2.
Episode 3. You made it to season dose.
Yeah. So we're gonna want to just jump right into
Let's
it.
jump right in.
Okay.
Let's get down to business.
You got to go first. 'Cause
Me?
I've been hogging the limelight.
Okay. All right.
Previously.
Well, I wanted to start us off with a flush today because I'm inspired by plumbing.
Did you say flush?
I said a flush.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because where would we be if we couldn't flush,
I think about that a lot.
right? I've honestly,
Right after the Roman Empire, it's Roman Empire and then flushing.
honestly, I don't really think about it a whole lot, but
Really?
I was thinking about it this week, and it was
Okay.
like, dang, dude, what would we be doing right now if we didn't have showers and faucets and
Yeah.
toilets? You know, like what kind of barbaric humanity would we be living in? I mean, it would basically be camping.
It basically would have been me
You
2
know?
years ago. Living in a yurt. To be
Right. Completely uncivilized, like I said.
fair. Yeah. Just no hope.
But yeah, I mean, it's like people used to have an outhouse. So,
Mhm.
okay, you know, maybe there's like a little communal outhouse thing. Everybody in your house uses it, or on your farm or your little neighborhood, or okay, that's not too bad. Okay, well, like
Sure.
it's not the worst thing in the world. Or maybe you got like the chamber pot situation, you know?
Gross. Yeah.
And it's like everybody poop in the bucket. And it's like, what if the bucket's overflowed and it's midnight and you got to hold it in, or you got to like take the bucket out and dump it somewhere. And it's like, where are you dumping that thing? You know, like you got to go walk somewhere.
Yeah, you
make
dump
sure you
it out
don't.
your second story window on
Yeah.
the people
And-
below.
Okay. And see, so that's the other thing is it's like you look at some old cities where they just like dumped it in the streets or back alley or whatever, or they would dump it in the river.
Yeah.
And that's what happened with Paris, right? They had a sewage system that would dump into the river. And so that's why the River Seine is like super filthy, you know?
Yeah.
But other people would just do that normally. It's just like, oh, every morning you get up and you take your chamber pot and just go like toss it in the river. And then you walk a little bit further upstream or whatever. And you're like getting your other pot and you're bringing clean water back. It's like, hey, what do you drink out of now? You know? But yeah, it's, you know, I mean, some of the old style of
Then you wave to your neighbor who's fishing.
yeah, your neighbor, you got your other neighbor taking a bath in there, you know, and I mean, which is another whole thing. So it's like if you don't have a shower,
Yeah.
like if I didn't have a shower, I mean, one, if you took everybody today and you just took the hot water out of their shower, people would be like up in arms.
Yeah.
Society would just
Most
be
people, I would
like, yeah, I mean, I do cold showers, so I would be like, ooh, challenge, okay, I'll try it, you know, and I think I could.
You're like,
you
I'm the
know,
only one to thrive in this new world.
yeah, and then like, ooh, I feel alive. You
On
know,
top of
like,
my game.
okay. But I think a lot of people would just be like furious, like, why even shower if it can't be hot? You know.
Yeah.
Whereas,
Especially if you've had it and then you have to go without.
right.
for
Whereas
sure.
a lot of people would probably look at that and be like, you know, like in olden times in history, it'd be like, what? You've got water just piped right into your house? That's insane. You know, it's like, doesn't matter. But who cares that it's not hot? Like, dude, that's
Yeah.
awesome. You know.
Yeah.
It's like, because they'd either have to like take a bucket of water and then like walk it from the river or the lake and then fill up a big basin, and then you'd have to like cook a fire under that thing. You're like boiling it, and then that's like a hot tub of water that you
Mhm.
can get into. or you pay half the price and you get the used one after the first guy, you know, or you, you know, or
and he also saved himself a trip to the bathroom.
yeah, he let a little pee-pee out, you know, or he was just doing some pig farming or whatever was going on.
Yeah, that's
you
why
know?
he needed the bath in the first place.
It's like he was, you know, he was cleaning out the sewers in Paris.
Get rid of those chicken
whatever.
pox and take a bath.
Yeah, whatever he was doing. And,
Yeah.
you know, but it's like, okay, maybe that was an option, or you would go down to the river, but then it's like, okay, hopefully that's a clean river and not the poo-poo dumping river, you know, or maybe it's just really cold water, you know, whatever it is. Hopefully it's not like too fast moving of a river. So, you know, it's like all bad options comparatively to today, you know. And so, yeah, it's like even showers. It's crazy, you know, if you just took away just the heat of modern showers, people would be outraged if you took away the convenience of the water piped into your house. And it was like, well, you want to take a bath, you're like, go down to the lake in winter and you can like jump in,
scrub yourself with some snow,
jump out. Yeah. I mean, you think about
a lot of cultures like that, though, in the colder areas have like sauna type bath rituals. So like I've been watching just another random thing I watch, but there's a like a little series on YouTube called The Coldest Town in the World.
Oh.
And it's in
Siberia?
Yeah, I think it's in Siberia, but it's shoot. I think it's in Siberia, I guess.
I feel like it's got to either be Canada, Alaska, or Russia somewhere. Maybe Scandinavia.
Well, it's right up there, but it's like it's not. I don't know if it's the Mongolians necessarily, but I think they're like an ethnic people that aren't Russian.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so they're kind of up in that Siberian area, though.
Okay.
And so yeah, it's just they take a bath once a week, or kind of a bath.
Yeah.
They basically just have like a basin. They heat up their sauna, and they take like a sponge bath kind of almost, and they go sit in the sauna, and then they go like jump in the snow, and then they wipe themselves down.
Wow.
And so like that's their bathing ritual, like once a week basically.
Wow. That's pretty cool. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like they make it work, but it doesn't. I mean, it's kind of cool if it's a ritual too. I mean,
yeah.
It's like it's like literally like an 8-hour process to take a shower. So
yeah,
you have to because they have like their separate little bathhouses, that'll just be like frigid, but then they have to light the fire, wait like a couple hours for it to even heat up to a reasonable temperature.
Yeah.
So it's like -30 out or -40 out.
Yeah. And
then, so then they go through all that, and then they have to, for all their water, they actually have to melt ice. So they like, early on in winter, what they do is they, like before it's -40, when it's only 0, they go out and they chop a bunch of ice blocks like out of like the lakes and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And so it's like some people like stack firewood. They actually stack ice everywhere.
Wow.
And then, they have these big kind of sheds of ice. And so they'll take like a big chunk of ice out, go melt it for whenever they need water.
Oh yeah.
And so
that makes sense.
Yeah, they're just like storing water.
Yeah. It's like instead of like open the faucet and it comes through the pipe, it's like go get a block.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy.
You need to make a soup or something. You like chip off some ice, and then you go throw it in your pot and heat it up and get the water for your soup.
Yeah.
It's like so
I'm
weird.
Thirsty.
Yeah.
Well, it's gonna be an hour.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like your literal, your water is in physical form most of the time, which is kind of weird.
Yeah. That's so wild.
It'd be like if your food was mostly liquid or something.
Wow. Yeah.
But yeah.
That's so wild.
So people do find ways around it, but it's definitely.
But yeah, it's a lot of work. Yeah, it's a lot of work to do that.
Although if you think about it, if they're only showering once a week, and it takes like, I don't know, 6 to 8 hours. It's like for that family of 4, because it's like kind of a communal thing anyway. For that family of 4, if they were just taking a shower each day and it was like 20 minutes or whatever of showering, it's like it might be less time overall.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. You have to do the math. But.
Well, okay, wait. So you bring up an interesting point that I wanted to get into, and that was like communal plumbing systems, right? Like communal bathhouses that they'd have in more like Greco-Roman times, or like Turkish bathhouses.
Bring back the Roman bathhouses.
Yeah, exactly, right? It's like, if you like if plumbing is a difficult thing in your particular, period of history, then it would make sense that you would put a lot of plumbing work into one communal place, and everybody could come there and kind of do their business. That's
the idea of a campground, right?
Yeah, right. Campgrounds have the same thing. There's like one bathroom for like 20 campsites or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like I can imagine how you go
Athlete's
here.
foot for 30 people.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, right. And so it's like I can imagine how you go, and it's like, all right, you go to the bathhouse, you're gonna like jump in the jacuzzi. There's like a little sauna room.
Yeah.
Maybe there's like some little oils and things you got to wipe down, get your change of clothes, get your towel, whatever. Wipe
Maybe use
off.
like scrapers too in Rome.
Some scrapers.
Yeah.
You know, all kinds of things.
Some exfoliation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The massage therapist is there to rub you. You know.
Dude, I mean, honestly, it blows my mind how extravagant like modern plumbing is.
Yeah.
Like when you just like walk down the street, you know, it's like there's pipes everywhere just running down the streets underneath, you know, especially a place like New York. If you've ever, I don't know if you ever looked.
Yeah, man.
Another one of my weird tangents, but like I've been watching like people
Mutant Ninja Turtles.
yeah,
Oh.
exactly. People who just like live in the old abandoned subways, you know, or like the old tunnels
yeah.
beneath like New York.
Yeah.
Like there's so much like weird passageways and just you know service tunnels and different things for like all these different all this infrastructure and whatnot that's down there, and it's kind of wild. But
some of these big cities just have like layers of underground, you
Mhm.
know? I mean, Paris definitely, but other big cities too. You know,
Yeah.
just layers and layers. The subways, the sewers.
Mhm.
It's like this was the old town that got built on top of, and just I mean, it's wild. Some of the stuff.
Yeah,
You know, it's
You're, like,
crazy.
you know, building a tunnel for a subway and you break into like this old cellar or you know whatever thing. Like, there's been kind of weird discoveries like that where they'll just be you know digging and come across, like you said, you know, some underground town that was built over
Yeah.
or whatnot. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Could you go without modern plumbing?
No. Not
No.
more. Not for more than maybe like a couple weeks.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
that's fair.
I think I think I could endure without showering. Like you know, my wife would hate me for that, but
So you couldn't do it, but
she you know, I mean, I could probably make it with like the washcloth thing. Like, okay, I'm going to take my bucket down to the lake, fill up some water, bring it back. I get a washcloth, I rub myself down, just the hot spots, and then I'm good. Cool with that. Like I could probably survive that way and be cool.
yeah,
Just extra deodorant, cologne it up, you know. But
spritzes.
but other things, like I think the toilet thing is the worst thing in my opinion. Like I don't want to pee and poop in a bucket. I don't always want to go outside. I don't want to be like pooping at nighttime in the winter out in the backyard or something, you know. It's like I don't want to do that. I think also just chores like laundry or washing dishes. You know, I wash the dishes. Like I love having the hot water when I wash dishes. Cold water sucks for washing dishes. You know, just excuse me, having that water heater is amazing. But also, I don't want to be having like a multi bucket system going on where it's like this is my like dirty water rinse and scrub, and I got to take it out of that and put it into like my soap water and then do like a final like third bucket rinse off thing and then go ahead and dry it. It's like I just want one faucet. I do all the things in the one faucet and then I stack it over here, you know?
Yeah, I am curious how dishwashing went in the older days, like if they were using soap or not, or whatnot.
Yeah.
I don't actually even use soap anymore.
No?
No.
Just anti-soap?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, it's helpful because I'm the only one eating off my dishes, but it's like it's old food particles.
Yeah.
It's like after everyone started eating sauerkraut and kombucha, it's like, and I actually made it and learned how like weird and gross it is. I was like, it's probably nothing that's gonna hurt me.
Yeah.
Like just old food.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends what you're throwing into your sink,
Yeah.
you know, and stuff.
Yeah, I don't do a lot of like
Like-
raw chicken or anything like
Yeah.
that either. So
Yeah, if you're throwing a bunch of like raw meats into your sink and then you pile up your dishes in your sink, it's like, wow,
yeah, I don't do that.
might have salmonella down there.
And I literally just wash everything as I use it, so it's
Yeah.
not like
Yeah, it's not like stuff is fermenting on there.
no, I
Not
don't let anything
growing a
sit.
fungi.
Yeah, if you let it sit, it's just gonna get crusty anyway and just be
Yeah.
a pain to clean off. So
Yeah, totally.
that seems overrated.
I think the nasty stuff is sometimes the sink, what's in the sink on the surface of the sink can be nasty. And then also the scrubbing instruments you use.
Oh,
You know, the scrubbing instruments can be so nasty.
I think they've done tests
like-
on that, and it's just
Yeah.
it's insane.
Yeah, I heard somewhere, and I totally believe it. I don't know factually if it's true, but it just sounds like it would be true that you're
It's good enough for me.
It's good enough for me. We'll just call it common sense. We don't have to call it a study. But that your sink is one of the most bacteria-filled locations in your entire house.
Yeah.
Like, people get worried about touching doorknobs.
You know what the first most bacteria, or the highest bacteria infested area in your house is?
Your bed.
You.
Oh, you. Yes. Well, I agree with that. Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
So,
We bring the bacteria into the house.
Well, just inside,
It's not-
outside, everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, you have the most bacteria and diversity, concentrated in one spot.
Correct. Yeah. That's
yeah.
true. Yeah.
So, but yeah, you were saying with the sink. It's like
Oh yeah, just the sink has so much bacteria in it,
Yeah.
and
phone screens too, right?
Yeah, phone screens I think are dirty. You
Yeah.
know, gotta clean those.
It's like cleaner than your toilet seat or something like that.
So yeah,
I've heard that.
yeah. Like I think the toilet seat is cleaner than people give it credit for.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't know. It is interesting, like how much, like obviously bacteria doesn't seem to be the end all be all, like in the story of whether you're sick or not. In a lot of cases, there's a lot of people who have a lot more bacteria in their environment, even harmful bacteria, seem to be fine, while other people could get like serious stuff just based off of like limited contact with certain things.
Yeah.
So I think that speaks to maybe having a stronger, healthy immune system and your own microbiome inside.
That's true. Yeah.
Than just what's around you, in some sense. But all that to say, don't go lick a toilet seat or something.
Yeah. Probably don't do that.
Who knows? It might be one of those things where, like, in 20 years, they just find out, like kind of with the whole antibacterial soap thing, where it's like, actually, that might not be the best thing for you. You know, just like waging war on everything in your environment. It's like you're actually killing so much of the good bacteria that could be there too.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, with the thing like the sink, it's like how much of that bacteria is actually bad bacteria. It's like, yeah, it might be one of the most bacteria laden places, but is it all bad?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or is it maybe contributing in some way to your health? I don't know. Weird way.
Yeah.
Even though it seems icky.
Yeah. There's a lot of weird, icky things that might actually be healthy.
Yeah.
If we're willing to dive into the ickiness.
I know that's the problem for me.
Yep.
I hate gross stuff, but
Yeah.
it's like
That's why I'm trying a new therapy. I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that.
Yeah.
Exfoliation.
Oh gosh, gross.
Okay, all right. Bringing it back to some seriousness here.
You know what's interesting plumbing wise though, and hot shower wise, is Iceland.
Oh yeah,
with all their geothermal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of their like heating comes from geothermal plumbing.
Oh yeah.
And so it's super weird. You're just it's like they don't have to really do much to give all their people like hot water.
Yeah.
And it's like they're just pumping it up from the ground hot.
Yeah. That's the same thing as people who live close to Yellowstone.
Oh, really?
There's a lot of geothermal heating. Like there are houses that I think don't have to pay for some of their heating. Because I remember down in Boise, there were like certain streets that had like hot springs that were like running underground. And those streets were known for not getting like snow. Like they would just heat up and there wasn't a lot of snow on those streets and things like that. Yeah. And people could, I think, pipe up like some of the, if they like drilled down on their property, they could pipe up the hot spring water.
Dude, that's so cool.
Right. So yeah, there's some cool stuff like that for sure.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because in Iceland, all the water just smells like sulfur.
Oh yeah.
It's like super potent.
Yeah.
It's like get in the shower and it smells like a rotten egg.
Yeah.
You're like the water's basically free. Hot water's basically free, but it's
stinky.
Yeah, I don't know.
Stinky water. Yeah.
I'm sure some people have like filters or something, but that just adds a whole other complication to plumbing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there was something else I wanted to discuss with plumbing, and that was the symbolism of
Mario?
plumbing. Oh, I was thinking about Mario, but I wasn't going to go down that route. I didn't necessarily have anything too much to say about Mario, just that it's
poop exfoliation
just
instead.
Just that Mario, why is there no poop in the Mario game? That's a weird thing. But Mario's got they gamified plumbing, I guess.
Yeah.
Japan did. But no, what I was going to talk about with plumbing is that when you think about it in like a lot of biblical symbolism and ancient symbolism, water is the chaos. A lot of times like the ocean and the uncontrollable, like the dark waters and things like that. And plumbing is like man's construct to control water in a weird way. It's like we control the life-giving water and bring it to us, and we take the contaminated water and we get rid of it, and we like put it back into the earth, you know? And it's an interesting way.
Drink it again.
Yeah, or maybe drink it again, things like that. But
Yeah.
it's interesting how we've sort of organized, we brought order to like this chaos of water, and we've created like structure to make water function well within human life. And when you take away that plumbing, there's like so much chaos that comes about in terms of the inconvenience, health crisis, hygiene problems. You know, there's like got to be designated places to get the water, designated places to like dump your feces or things like that, washing. It's like it creates a lot of work for people when you get rid of that plumbing system. So I just was thinking
you just
about.
unlocked a huge rant.
Oh, did I? Yeah.
Watch out.
Well, I just thought, gosh, plumbing it just feels like a beautiful thing with controlling this aspect of nature that's like really hard to control. And I feel like it's a huge blessing to have plumbing. So, all right, what's your thing that you're brewing over there?
About?
You're piping over there about something.
Oh, nice. Yeah, like it's nice to have, like systems to distribute stuff, but it's hard because whenever you go into like very centralized systems like that, and whether it be sanitation or like kind of storing things, you do run into the problems of like the bigger something gets, the more rigid it has to become, I guess, in a sense. So I'm just, okay, well, think about like drinking water, right? It's like the more people that are drinking from the exact same source, the more you have to like standardize it, like, basically sterilize it to the nth degree,
Oh, yeah.
like add chlorine, add all
You've
these
lost
other
the
things.
quality of the water.
Mm-hmm. Or it's like if something's wrong with one part of the water, then it's like everybody's exposed to that same thing,
Yeah.
and so you get this weird effect where you both have to like over treat it to make sure it's like safe for every person, and and the more people you're servicing, the less the risk factors that are acceptable, so you have to like over process it, and then and then by the same token, then if something goes wrong in it, then it's also affecting more people.
Yeah.
So, it's like up here, like, there's like a lot of arsenic in the water or whatever, and, I think if people were getting more water from wells, like that wouldn't be as much of an issue, but we get a lot of water from the lakes or whatever, rivers and stuff. And so, and I guess even rainfall probably, I would imagine. But, so it's like by doing that, depending where your source is, it's like, and if you're going to source water for a lot of people, it usually has to come from a very communal area, which is more susceptible to like bad things in the water, It's like a lot of Las Vegas is like gets their water from the Colorado River, and it's like a lot of that's pretty contaminated, which is this is again controversial, but like all the birth control and stuff in the water, just like different antibiotics from people that
I won't say it, but I'm thinking it.
that they're peeing out. And like even people on chemo stuff, like they're not supposed to use regular toilets, but they do. And so you're getting all this crazy stuff in the water. And so when it goes into like this, when you're using central water systems to pull from, it's like you're exposed to more of the just mass stuff that's entering those main water systems, as opposed to developing other water systems or wells or rainwater or anything like that, and being like a little bit less centralized.
Yeah, that's true. Our system for trying to mass produce water to the people, has lowered the quality of the water totally.
Yeah, I mean, you can't even drink or couldn't or shouldn't drink the water in LA, areas or big like New York areas, it's like it's literally toxic without some sort of filter.
Right.
Like, and you can do it yourself and test that,
Yeah.
but
yeah, it's like even here, the
Yeah.
sink water, it's like we're going to put filters, like we pour the water out of the faucet and then we pour it through a filter and then we drink it,
Yeah. And that's become just common knowledge now.
Yeah.
It's like, 10 years ago, people would have thought you crazy. Like, why you filter water? It's fine.
Yeah.
City treats it.
Yeah.
And you're like, kind of,
Yeah.
but not in a way that's suitable for human health. And there's, how deep down this rabbit hole do you want to get?
Oh, not that deep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Singapore is like a place that maybe it's Singapore, one of those small like cities. I forget the name for it, but like small place. I think it's Singapore. Anyway, I think they like recycle all their water, like 100% of their water.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
No way.
Yeah. So they like basically just all their sewage gets treated and sent back
What?
into the system. Yeah.
Whoa.
And so
That's crazy.
yeah. Fact
Maybe they
checking on
don't
that,
have maybe they don't have good water sources then.
yeah, they don't.
It's like they must not have
Yeah.
like a bunch of springs or rivers or
Yeah.
anything. Yeah. I mean, they're at the very tip of a peninsula.
Yeah.
You know, I would imagine that the tip of a peninsula, it's hard to get water sources. You know, you
Yeah.
got to be near like big mountains and stuff to get water sources. So yeah,
Yeah.
they might not have that.
And you can't really drill down because the ocean's right there. So
Yeah.
it's all salt water and stuff.
Wow, that's interesting to think about. Yeah.
But yeah,
Mm.
so everyone's drinking poop water there.
Poop water. Yeah.
I mean, it's
totally.
been treated, but
Yeah.
again, like the weird thing without getting too far down the rabbit hole is like there is interesting stuff where water kind of loses some of its energetic properties, like potentially. And it hasn't necessarily been scientifically proven, but like I think that there is a lot more to water than we initially.
Like the vibrational things that people do with it, or the like.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, just that some of the whatever the energetic properties of water are, and like people have wild theories about what water is and all this kind of stuff, but the idea being that like water becomes kind of dead or dying.
I've heard that. Yeah.
It's like people say that's why your cat will drink the water out of the faucet, you know, but won't drink that bowl of water, you know.
Well, yeah,
Animals always prefer moving water.
Animals have like water preferences, which is interesting.
Yeah,
and there is.
They always go for the moving water.
Yeah, they always go for it if it's moving, you know. And is that just like an instinct against stagnant water, or what is that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is an interesting thing to think about that, you know. And yeah, you know, we have to create things. I mean, I feel like what I was talking about earlier though, with the whole, you know, plumbing is bringing order to a chaos of nature. I feel like that's still I still stand by that, but
totally,
you know, with filtering, it's the same thing. It's like we have to create filtration within our water, you know, controlling systems, because the water, even the water that we receive, and I would like to think that if you drank out of a spring of water that was just coming out of the earth, it hasn't passed through Las Vegas yet. No mankind contamination has entered this water. You know, I would like to think that would be totally pure, clean, healthy mineral water.
I think it'd probably change your life, honestly.
You know, it'd probably be really great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a spring here that you can fill up like water bottles with.
Oh, really?
And stuff. So my sister and I are gonna start buying like big jugs and just fill it up.
That's cool.
For drinking water.
Yeah.
So.
We'll do some blood tests on you before and after and see what happens to you.
Yeah. How many? No, I mean it should all be sterile and clean, and it's all like
as long as there's no weird parasites.
Yeah, I think when it comes up out of the ground like that, it's fine, right?
I don't know.
It's like the earth acts as a filter, right?
I hope so.
Yeah, as long as like the mouth of the spring isn't like totally, I don't know.
As long as there's not
part
like
of a nuclear fallout
dead
or something.
goat that's just lying there.
Yeah. Hopefully with the spring, you should know. Actually, a lot of times they'll tap into springs though and like put like a pipe or whatever coming out.
Yeah, you could just get like a pipe coming right out of it. Again, plumbing.
Yeah.
But it would be you know, as long as your piping system is clean, you know, then that would be what you'd want to have, right? Yeah. And that's like the idea of well water, essentially.
I love well water. It's so good.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
I did that for 2 years and it was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's like the unfiltered water out of the earth, right? The living water. It's like you're basically just using plumbing to get it to you more efficiently.
Yeah.
And hopefully plumbing can at least try to redeem human contamination of the drinking water, or at least try to organize contaminated water away from humans. You know, I think that's like the goal.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was my symbolism with plumbing.
I like it.
And some tangents about clean water. Which, I mean...
It turned into my rant, I'm sorry.
Honestly, I mean, clean water is a big conversation, you know? Like, that's... I have been surprised in how much I've looked at the movements of geopolitics and how much geopolitical movement has to do with water. You know, different nations fighting for water sources.
Atreides.
Yeah. Dune. Aside from them, though, really, I was thinking of Egypt and Ethiopia, but even Saudi Arabia, like they have hardly any water. Australia. Australia has like almost no water sources.
Yeah.
And they have these tiny little mountains on the east coast that barely catch any water from, you know, clouds that would come over because they're too low, so the clouds don't precipitate enough. So you basically have like a little bit of rainfall on the east side of Australia, and then like 80% of the country, you've got like a dry desert that just barely gets any kind of water there.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's a huge problem. Otherwise, that could be a really huge continent with tons of people living there, but you can't sustain a lot of people because you can't get enough water. And same thing with the west coast of America. You can't get a lot of people. I mean, we have a lot of people over there, but that's because we do insane irrigation and piping water in through aqueducts.
Yeah.
But realistically, Colorado River. But like realistically, we can't sustain the amount of people who live in Los Angeles or Southern California based on its own water intake from like rain and natural springs.
It's wild that they even have that much farmland there.
Oh, like, it's insane. Yeah. Whereas you look at the East Coast and they have like a ridiculous amount of water, and that's because there's tons of rainfall over there. And so it's like always green on the east half of the United States, you know? So it's like people have to live where water is available, and countries are like desperate to get water sources in order to supply their country, you know?
Yeah. Well, and then even like we were talking about with the Nile, right? And they were like going to dam it up.
Yeah.
And like, that's a big, would you classify as plumbing? Is that just like a big version of plumbing?
I'd put that into plumbing. I'd put that into like big plumbing. You know, I mean,
the biggest plumbing.
That plumbing is huge. I'm gonna build a wall. Keep this water in. No, I mean, I guess I'm using the word plumbing, but I'm thinking of like
water management,
irrigation, you know, dams, reservoirs, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Water bottles, hydro flasks.
How can we contain water?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those crazy sweat pea suits that they had in Dune.
Still suit.
The still suit. Like I'm gonna pee my pants and then drink it. However that works.
Like Singapore.
Yeah, that's right. Those are made by people in Singapore. Oh man.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, there has been a lot to like capture water, and even like the idea of ice is interesting, you know, because again, that's like a way of capturing water.
Mm-hmm.
And this is science fiction plumbing in a way, but for my story, in the way they colonize new planets is they just capture a bunch of comets like that are all, you know, big chunks of ice.
Yeah.
And then just like, I mean, this is another theory that
I've heard this. Yeah.
Yeah, been proposed for other things, but yeah, they just capture comets, like send them crashing down and melt.
Yeah. Totally heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'd be kind of cool, futuristic plumbing.
Mm-hmm.
Just like crash a big space
Gonna
object.
need to go get another block of ice out of space.
Yeah, pretty much. Transport it down.
Totally.
But yeah, so does that satisfy your plumbing?
That satisfied my plumbing inspiration.
Okay.
Yep. Now I've got to go pee. No, not really.
No. Dripping faucets.
Yeah.
Running water.
That's right.
Rain on the roof.
So next time you turn on your faucet or flush your toilet, don't think of me, but instead think about the plumber that made that. I appreciate that.
I got paid $200 an hour.
I got paid a lot of money. And then you should think about how much money they're making and think about that might be a good job to get into.
Yeah. Please get more plumbers so it doesn't cost as much for the rest.
Yeah, that's right. That's lower demand here. All right, Paul. What's on the agenda for you?
So I was just going to build off of my last week's topic of ritual.
Oh, yeah.
And instead go with cycles. It's my sneaky way to keep talking about rituals. Kind of.
What kind of cycles?
All of them. But no, just, you know, the idea of a ritual is cool because it's like something I think as we talked about last week, it was kind of, the way I saw it was turning something you do on a routine basis and giving it higher purpose or meaning, or using it with some sort of spiritual meaning potentially even. But I think a cycle almost differs. It differs in a few key ways from ritual in my mind. To me, a cycle seems like something that's outside of like a ritual is almost like you're kind of infusing a pattern with meaning, like from yourself. You know, so it's like you can almost turn anything into a ritual. But a cycle is something that's outside yourself that you participate in or like happens to you.
Okay.
And so it's like it's kind of a ritual in some sense, but it's the meaning is from outside rather than from inside.
So cycle is making me think of like the weather seasons or something like that. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a pattern that like deeply affects you, and I think you can choose to participate in cycles or not, but there are things that are, the way I'm kind of phrasing it here is there are things that are inherent to nature that happen on a consistent basis. So basically, maybe you could even see them as patterns, maybe that happen in nature. And so, what inspired this was the Oktoberfest, of just seeing, basically for anybody listening, just going to the Orthodox Church, it's usually very, reserved.
I would say formal.
Formal. There you go. Yeah. In the context of being like the services and stuff, it's pretty, everyone dresses up, everyone takes it very seriously. They're very reverent. It's like maybe the kids go off screaming afterwards, but like the adults are pretty, reserved even after. It's, not unfriendly or anything, but it's just a different vibe. But anyway, so then, they have this Oktoberfest, and I think getting into the bigger topic too, it's a lot of the Orthodox is kind of revolving around the Christian calendar. And so there's a lot of cycles built into that and traditions and things that happen every year. And, some of those things are basically like feast days. So they'll have, things where it's like everybody's, partying and eating all the food because it's like there's fasting a lot of the year. And so like during these, high times, people kind of let loose. And so it's, to me, the cycle that inspired me was the idea of, being very serious, hardworking, reverent, and then letting loose. And then you just, you kind of break down a lot of those things that could otherwise, I don't know, cause you to be like stagnant or like stuffy, in a sense. It's like, I always think about corporations. I don't know why, but this is it's Rome, plumbing, corporations.
Okay.
I think about a lot of things, but, it's like the idea of like corporations usually will always like kind of tend towards tyranny in some sense.
Okay.
Not in like a super negative way, but they just
tyranny sounds pretty negative. I don't know the positive side of tyranny, man. They were like oppressors, but the good kind.
Yeah,
I agree with you. I think a lot of big corporation businesses tend towards the.
It's a very charged word. I'll admit that.
Yeah, I don't know.
They tend towards increased control.
Yeah.
Order.
Micromanaging. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah. Like I don't know a good way to say it, but
standardization as opposed to customization.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Things like as you get more moving parts, you have to be more. Have more oversight to make sure all these things are functioning correctly together. Right. And so like that just grows and grows and grows. And if you don't have a way, like have you seen the movie The Purge? I'm just kidding.
Oh,
I haven't seen it either. I just know the concept.
I think I maybe saw half of it.
I think it's like one day. I haven't seen it, but I think it's like one day a year. Like there's no rules.
Yeah,
anyone can
everybody
can
just go like kill everybody or whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
Rob the stores.
It's like the way to like.
It's like New York today.
As long as you don't steal something more than $400 or whatever.
Yeah, whatever the rule is.
Yeah, $900 or something. But yeah, so it's like I don't know what the exact premise of why they do that in the movie, but I would imagine it's something like to keep, to like as a release valve for steam.
You're making me think of The Matrix right now, because how in The Matrix they were like, we created the perfect world for humanity. But then we realized that the humans caught on to us. So we made like
like
a
too
flawed.
perfect.
Yeah, it's like we had to make a flaw in the system or else they wouldn't accept it. Right? So it was like you have to have something that people will accept.
Yeah.
You know?
Has to be like a little bit imperfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to me, it just seems like a lot of times people build up these systems that aren't, and it was kind of like I think you were talking about outside the podcast, where it's like people have systems, and because people are flawed, the systems are flawed because of that, because people are involved in the system, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're building up systems with flawed people, that inherently makes the system flawed. And so I think having areas where you can take a step back and deconstruct some of that stuff, not in a complete way, but in a partial way is, and when I say not complete or partial, it's like, it's the idea of, I'm going to steal a phrase here, but it's like having a carnival rather than having a revolution, you know?
Okay.
Where it's like, you give people like almost like an ordered outlet to have chaos, if that makes sense, rather than just like inviting full chaos in and starting from scratch.
Yeah.
And so with that kind of cycle, it's, you know, you basically let people, take a step back from everything.
Yeah.
For a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And then people come back with like a renewed mind and a renewed vision and all this kind of stuff.
Totally.
It's kind of even what sleep is in some sense, you know? It's like you go into the chaos world to come back refreshed and with new vision. So, you know, that cycle kind of really repeats itself in a lot of different ways. And it's like, you know, you see it in the Bible a ton. It's like God judged the people, and then they came back and started doing the right thing for a little while. Then they were judged, and then they came back and started doing the right thing for a little while.
Yeah, there is an interesting cycle of that, but it's like, do you think the people, like, I wonder if the people were walking away from God because they needed a break from all the rules, and so it was like, let's all just go sin because we need this? Or is it like they weren't properly taking the like instructed calendar cycles of breaks? Like, hey, if you were celebrating the Jubilee years and you were celebrating the festivals correctly, you wouldn't have had this like angst that you've got to rebel. You would have like taken your own kind of like natural breaks and celebrations, and you wouldn't, nobody'd be pulling out the golden calf, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I could totally see something like that. Yeah, I don't know exactly why. I mean, obviously people are pretty good at just not following directions or or whatever, going their own way, but it's kind of the human story.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think those things are, you know, you see those cycles again of Jubilee and all those things built into the system. So I do think they're pretty important. And, you know, it's like during the feasts, you would not work, you would go, you know, maybe even leave your house to go travel somewhere. You know, you kind of take down all the familiar things that you were used to, put yourself in a strange environment, do something different.
Yeah.
And just kind of, and I don't think it's like that has to lead to like debauchery or anything. You know, it's not like, it's not the purge again.
It's not like there's repressed sexual tension and everybody's got to just let it out.
Yeah.
It's like,
you know, yeah, I think if
it's
you're,
like, it doesn't have to be that.
no. And it usually when people like let loose, it's more of a reflection of what's inside that comes out than, you know, just completely changing your personality.
I mean, yeah, I don't feel like, what do I want to say? I don't feel like people have, you know, these buried behaviors that they're like irksomely trying, like, if only I could go break something, then everything would be in peace in my life. If only I could have the fire dance orgy. You know, it's like, I don't feel like that is as much what people need.
Clearly, I haven't seen the Mad Max Festival in California.
Oh, no, I haven't. But I don't feel like that's the need as much as it is for people. They need to be vulnerable, and they need to feel like they're safe with other people, that they can express themselves. And that's a form, whatever that wild thing is, that's a form of vulnerability and expressing yourself where you know that, like, I can do something wild that like I couldn't normally do. If I did this at my job, they'd fire me. If I did this with my family, they'd judge me. If I did it, you know, whatever it is, it's like nobody would accept me if they saw me doing this. But I know that in this crowd, I can like let loose, let go. I can be this vulnerable, position, and I can behave in this way, and everybody will accept that.
Yeah.
Like I see it as a form of being vulnerable and then being accepted.
That's cool.
And then sort of doing that in a form of a behavior, you know. But it's like if you could be vulnerable and accepted on a continual basis within your community, I don't know if people would need that much expression. Like I think it would still be good and healthy for people to have those kinds of expressions, but I don't know if they would need that as much. That's just that's my 10 cents.
Yeah. I think that's great insight. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the vulnerability is always lacking.
Like if Mad Max did talk therapy,
They might
he wouldn't have to go on
he
to
might have driven through the desert.
Wouldn't have driven through the desert killing people or whatever. Maybe not.
Yeah, he probably would have needed to because there was no water there.
That's right, because they didn't have plumbing.
Yep. Boom. Wasn't the end of that movie though like they were like released the floodgates or whatever, and everyone's like getting drenched?
Yeah, I think everybody was doing a crazy water dance thing going on.
Some Matrix Zion thing.
It was like, let's all enjoy the water.
Yeah.
Which on the one hand was like, you kind of just dump a bunch of water out on the ground. Like I feel like that was a little bit of a waste.
Why don't I drive across the desert again if you're just gonna do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It is interesting though, because I see, it's like the cycles of like the feasts don't really disappear, even in the new, like, as we were reading like in Ezekiel and stuff, it's like the feasts still happen, right? And even like Zach was talking about that, I think, it's like all the atonement feasts go away, but all like the celebration feasts still stay.
Yeah.
And so there's like those cycles still stay.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know, because even I've always been fascinated by the Sabbath cycle. It's like why there's 6 days and the seventh day is like this, odd day out. It feels like in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And so it's like I think even that is a way, and it's you can draw like a weird correlation too between it, where the 6 days are like 6 days in Israel and the seventh day is the exile. And so, it's because like every time there's another this is like pattern recognition brain right here, but there's the idea that, every time you go into exile, you come back with like riches, or you come back with something, and so, so it's a similar idea where you incorporate the foreign, and then you come back with not like secret knowledge, but new knowledge to then incorporate back and then build up for 6 days with that new knowledge. And then you go and you fall asleep. You have the seventh day, you have a revival, you have a flood, all these different imagery things. And then you rebuild from that. And so it gives me hope because I think I've talked to my dad about this, a couple times, where it's, you can feel in your own life the cycle of like, why can't I always just progress? Like, why can't I go like linearly and progress in whatever my, thing I'm trying to get good at, or, whether it's like emotional stuff, it's like, why can't I just always be a little bit more selfless than the last day? It's like, it's never that journey. It's always, I feel like I'm doing great. And then you're like, next week, you're like, I'm the worst, and then, I mean, ultimately, I think most people can recognize if they're on a path of growth that the overall trajectory is up, and they'll be like higher than, they'll be more mature or whatever you want to call it, 10 years, 15 years down the road. But the road to, the way to get there was never a straight line. It was always up then down. Then up,
so it was like down. The stock market.
Yeah, kind of.
Like,
but always
2008, whoop, back up.
2020 and forevermore, all the way down. So it's like that cycle is just, you can kind of see it even in the personal growth journey. So I don't know, is there any cycles that stand out to you in life, or like,
well, what I was thinking about was how it's interesting when cycles have different levels of frequency. Like there's daily cycles, and then there's weekly cycles, monthly cycles. I don't have those, but ladies do, And then even like yearly cycles, like there's Christmas or New Year's or things like that. And you know what's a cycle I was actually thinking about is birthdays. It's actually really interesting how we create these cycles where we celebrate birthdays. And I think that in the United States, we've made it a very consumerist thing where we're like, this is my day to celebrate me and I get to do whatever I want and everyone buy me things and all this stuff. But I feel like birthdays really should be not for the person whose birthday it is, but it should almost be more for the people who are friends with that person. Like they are celebrating their friend, family member because they appreciate them. And it's like, this is like my day to celebrate you.
Yeah.
And so I give you a gift and I'm like appreciating you and I get to spend
Lord of the
time
Rings
with you.
Recently.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, the hobbits celebrate birthdays differently, but yeah. And I don't know. I think it's interesting how we've created a cycle that seems very self-centered, but I feel like it almost doesn't need to be that way.
Culture's very good at that.
We're very good at that. Yes.
Very good.
Yeah. Well, humanity,
we're the best.
It's easy. Yeah. You could say it's natural to be self-centered.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Christmas. Yeah. Like a lot of even the festivals, basically like a lot of the stuff we celebrate now was at one point like religious or like liturgical stuff. Like Halloween was All Saints Eve or whatever.
That's right.
And so they would have like all these vigils and stuff, and this actually goes even to the order and chaos type cycle where like so a lot of these things they would have a big tradition, they would have liturgy, they would have a service, all this kind of stuff for like a day or two, and then at the end they would have like a festival, right? And so to kind of like celebrate it. But it's funny that with like kind of how we've done things with the modern times, we take the festival that was associated, like the party part of it that was associated with it, but took all like the liturgy and like the service out of it and all like the meaning out of it.
Right.
And all we have is like the carnival and the chaos afterwards.
Well, like what if there was a weird ritual cycle that was like the 7 days before your birthday, you must fast.
Oh, jeez.
And it's be like, oh, that's so hardcore. Like nobody wants to do that. I mean, like nobody in America would really be into that kind of thing, except for all the intermittent fasting people. But you think about
that's real fasting. I don't know.
But yeah, you think about all the people today. It's like, just skip straight to the dessert.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's exactly what it is. 100%.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, of course everything feels hollow and like there's no culture when you're just like skipping all the meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
And just doing the fun stuff,
You're just fulfilling your reward system and not earning it.
Yeah, it's like the chasing the dopamine, which it's great at.
I want the spiritual high, but I don't want to do the wandering in the wilderness to get there.
Exactly. Yeah. I want the riches without, going into exile or whatever. And so, yeah, or actually, I think a better analogy to that even is like, when you're in that chaos part of the chaos cycle, it's like you have to go back to the land, like your homeland, to implement it. If you just stay in exile, you're among like the knowledge, the riches, the new things, but you never get to incorporate it until you go back home.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So it's even kind of like Jordan Peterson, I think, talks about that in relation to Jung, where it's like you have to basically push past the boundaries of what you know and what are comfortable with, go into the outside, into the dark, fight the dragons.
You got to do more hand movements here if you're going to quote Jordan Peterson.
Yeah. I haven't watched him in a long time, so I can't actually. I don't remember. I think that's it. Yeah.
Something like that.
Well, it's not obvious. But yeah.
But you got to get past the dragon, you're saying?
Yeah. It's like you have to, and it's the hero's journey too, as well, where you have to, you have to go past the bounds of what you know into the chaos, but then if you just stay in the chaos, then you never incorporate that. And that's the end of the hero's journey, is coming back to your land and, distributing the riches, doing whatever. And so, that's like a very important part of the cycle, but people just get trapped in different parts of that and then never continuously live through it, because that's how you iterate. And then, basically evolve.
Mm.
No, I mean, that's a
Mature.
sure. Yeah, you can say that too.
It's the Christian way of saying it.
Yeah, thank you.
Evolve's the dirty word.
I didn't yeah.
Even though it could mean,
So yeah, that's the trigger word.
yeah. It's a trigger word.
So yeah, I don't know. Do you see that cycle happening in your life?
Yeah. I definitely think that my life ebbs and flows in cycles. And I was even just thinking about the daily cycle. It's like I wake up, I go out the door, I go on my hero's journey, I come back a changed, tired, and hungry man. I eat and then I go to sleep.
Do you wake up revivified?
I wake up feeling still kind of half dead until I take a magic potion.
That's black and bitter.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, I mean, okay, so like that cycle works on a daily basis. Do you feel like you've experienced that on a larger basis too? Like, do you think there's like every 3 months you take a vacation, or like every week you do a Sabbath or something?
I've actually thought about this in a weird way that just because I've seen sort of strange patterns in my own life when I recount the history of Brandon's Chronicles. And I have seen weird patterns that seem to work on a 3-year cycle.
Interesting.
It's a really weird thing.
I like that.
But I've seen that there are certain seasons of my life that seem to last for about 3 years, and then the season changes.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. And it always seems like it's outside of my control. It seems well, this was just the obvious life decision at this point and that point and whatever. And then it's like, I look back on it and think like, wow, it took about 3 years from this point to that point. That's interesting. Like there was a weird point in time, let's see, back when I think, I'm trying to remember when I first kind of started counting my 3-year like cycles in life. Cause it's been 3 years. It's almost been 3 years now. It's been over 3 years now. No, November 1st will be 3 years of living here at this place. So that's like a new life cycle that's been about 3 years. So it's like I'm waiting for the next turn of another 3-year season of life right now. It's like, what's the next thing I'm going to go into?
Well, it's like this 3 years has been like jam-packed for you.
It's been jam-packed, a lot of things. And then it's like this was COVID, which was the end of my last 3-year cycle, which was 3 years of living in Santa Barbara and owning my business there. And then prior to that was 3 years of working at the university. And then prior to that was 3 years where I was going through school, getting some of my first jobs, different living situations that I had. That was like my early 20s, discovering a bunch of things about myself and what I was trying to do in life. And then, there's like other periods I could trace back further than that. But there's always been kind of this weird thing of like, it's like weird 30-year periods. So it's like right now I'm 30. So it's like I've had maybe 10 3-year cycles. And so now I'm kind of wondering what's going to happen when I hit, 30 to 33. And then what's the 33?
Yeah.
Hopefully I don't go die on a cross. But, it's like what's going to happen in that weird cycle. So I don't know. I've got predictions of what's going to be happening in this next 3-year season of life, but I wouldn't say them on the recording.
Yeah.
So,
you don't want to jinx it.
Yeah, that's right.
I
don't want somebody listening and then being like, we'll make it happen.
Fulfill your destiny.
I predict that I'll have at least $10 million.
Make it happen.
From a random person.
Supporting our podcast.
That's right.
Subscribe. That's cool. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. I do like that. I'd never heard that from you before. So.
Yeah, I know. It's a weird thing. I've buried it deep inside. No, honestly, I just forgot about it. I didn't think about it till we brought it up right now.
Yeah.
I think about it
from the podcast,
I think about it from time to time. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then, even the body, like, what they say, like every 7 years or something, every cell in your body is replaced or something like that.
Oh, I don't know what the total life cycle is of all your cells being replaced. Like your skin cells replace.
Like daily, right?
I want to say it's like every few days, like all your skin cells have been replaced. I can't remember. And then like your red blood cells replace every 4 months.
Yeah.
And your white blood cells, they vary. They have all different types of timelines. And then I've heard that your taste buds change every maybe 7 years. I don't remember how long it was that taste buds change, but taste buds change over time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things in the body that go through weird cycles too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all, and that's what it is. Just like cycles all the way down, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is trippy. I could think about this forever.
Yeah. I know, man.
But I shouldn't.
What do you call it if you have two cycles happening at the same time?
Bicycle.
Yeah, that was like a
Nice.
dad joke. Anyway.
That was a good one. Yeah. I like it.
Oh, man.
Let's cut it off there then. Well, thank you for attending, everybody. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't take me as seriously as you might try to. Oh, man.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been, I don't know. I'm definitely enjoying just, shooting the breeze.
That's
and
right.
Figuring out all these weird things. So,
Yeah.
I mean, half of this is just stuff I've thought about for the first time. And
Yeah, it's good.
the other half is just my impassioned rants.
That's, yeah. A lot of strange rumblings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although, speaking of which, I still have to figure out how to get us on Rumble.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Follow us on Rumble whenever we get on there.
Yeah, I thought my mom pointed out. She's like, I don't think I saw your videos. And then
Oh, Rumble's censoring us.
it's happening. We're only allowed on YouTube now. Yeah, no, there was like a weird thing where they would, they were like waiting to monetize the video or something. It was
Oh.
gonna take like a while,
Oh,
but
they better pay us a lot for that waiting.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we're approved yet or whatever,
Oh,
but
okay.
I gotta look into that.
All right, that's interesting.
Send some emails to their support team and say, can we get a video published faster than a week?
Yeah, that's a long time to wait.
Because I was able to get everything posted on every other site like the day of. So,
Oh, that's odd.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, until then, think about the cycles that you have in your life and plumbing. And if you want to put that together,
Checking the podcast daily
that's right.
or weekly.
Check the podcast every week.
Yeah.
That's a good cycle to have. I was also going to say pooping is a good cycle because it involves plumbing and regular cycles.
Nice way to tie it together.
That's right.
All right. Until next time, everyone.